It's quiet. Hey, Mark.
Is this starting at 2 or 2:30? Because the email has 2:30.
2.
Okay.
It was the email from Christine.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, Melissa and Bryn.
Hi. Hi.
We're waiting for just a few more, it looks like. Rod and Allie. What's up, Eric?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon. So, where are you calling in from?
Oh, I'm calling in from the, let me check. I have the ASI June 16th, 2 to 3.5 p.m. Creating a Culture of Respect and Inclusion training.
So, what company you're calling in from, I guess, was more specific. Company and where you're located.
Usolution Promo, New Jersey.
Okay. How about you, Larissa?
I'm calling from Sayreville for Roland Lithow.
Okay.
Sayreville, New Jersey.
Okay, so you're both kind of local.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got everyone in. So for today's class, Eva will be co-presenting with me. We do have some activities as well. I will be sharing the PowerPoint, so that means I can't see anyone's screens unless you're the last person who spoke. I can't see the chat. I can't see raised hand functions. But Eva is always my eyes and ears for that. So I'm going to share. Okay, we can see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So the title of this class is called We Care, Creating a Culture of Respect and Inclusion. We launched this class earlier this year. We actually piloted it, got a group of ASI employees, and we got immediate feedback from them right after the class. We made some tweaks that were suggested. This makes it a better overall class. And this is actually kind of like a continuation of a 4-part series we did last year that was hosted by a local therapist. His name's Dr. George James, and it was on racism. That followed all the civil unrest after the murder of George Floyd. So we thought it was an important conversation to have. This class was in development right after we started those panel discussions. We had 4 of them last year. Dr. George James has been back with us twice this year. I think he'll be back again. And he's done talks on racism, allyship, biases, microaggressions, and such. So we have some of that in this class here. We like it to be participatory. So if you have comments, that you want to make, please do so. If you have answers or you have questions, I should say, please ask them. So this is the objective of the class. ASI strives to create and maintain a work environment in which people are treated with dignity and decency. The environment of the company should be characterized by mutual trust and the absence of intimidation, oppression, and exploitation. This program will provide an opportunity for an ongoing conversation and a better understanding of our role in creating a workplace that is built on respect. Our values are core to who we are here at ASI, and we will examine each for further introspection and understanding. And hopefully that's one of the things that we all take from this class is, a little bit of self-reflection, some deep thought about how we conduct ourselves and, where we go from there. So our roadmap today, we're going to look at the values of ASI. So for all ASI employees, they're part of our annual review. We are rated on how we reflect the values that the company has in place. I don't know, show of hands, and Eva can tell me if you have any hands going up. Has anyone seen ASI's values prior to this class? About to be seeing them. If you have, just raise your hand.
We have one hand. Looks like Natalie. I see it in her video.
Okay, very good, Natalie. So our values, again, it's core to who we are, and they can be found in our Welcome magazine on the iNet. You can find them on ASI Central and the ASI Career section of that, and it's something that we deeply believe in. And we use them as a theme for each month for ASI University. And June is the month of networking. Yes, Eva?
Yes.
All right. We're going to talk about harassment and bullying, discrimination and bias. We'll look at microaggressions. And then your role as an ASI employee. Now, I know that Larissa and Ryan aren't ASI employees, but hopefully you get a sense of what our culture is like at ASI. So I'm going to turn it over to Eva.
Hi, guys. So I'm just going to read through some of our values. I know, well, all of our values. I know a lot of you haven't seen them before. It is core to who we are, and we just figured it's good to start this presentation off with a little bit of a review, or I guess for all of you, it'll be the first time seeing these, so I'll just read through. Our first one, we care about our members and colleagues in the communities where we live and work. We treat people as we would like to be treated. That means following through, listening, and considering alternative views and ideas. We are fair, open, and honest with each other, our members, our partners, and our vendors. We deliver on our promises. If we can't, we try to make it right. We surround ourselves with talented, enthusiastic people who want to learn, grow, and help us improve. ASI isn't for everyone, and that's okay. We embrace diversity in race, creed, color, ethnicity, national origin, religion, sex, age, sexual orientation, marital status, physical ability, veteran status, and everything in between. Diversity broadens and deepens our understanding and helps us represent and serve everyone. We're like a family. We have fun, willing to be as silly as we are serious. We celebrate everyday accomplishments and successes and share in major milestones. We invest in our future by encouraging and nurturing new ways to serve members and each other. We use data and facts to make decisions, but we aren't afraid to take risks. We hold ourselves and each other accountable. That's how we learn for next time. We strive for excellence in everything we do, from the products we create to the relationships we build. Above all else, we're with each other every step of the way.
All right, thank you, Eva. I like one of those values talk that, we take ourselves seriously and silly as well. 1 year for our annual turkey giveaway for Thanksgiving, Tim Andrews dressed up in a turkey costume. So, we do like to have fun at ASI. So let's look at some of the common themes in these values. And we picked out a few of them. One of them is respect. And we pull the definition from the dictionary. And it is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. So what does that look like at ASI? Well, at ASI, we have anniversary luncheons and awards programs, and those are an exercise in respect. The recognition of an employee's service, hard work, and dedication to ASI and its clients is a sign of respect shown by upper management. And every week there are there are anniversary lunches hosted by the owners, Norman and Matthew, and we're doing happy hours, Zoom happy hours, since we had the work from home status caused the pandemic. But those were in-person lunches where you talk about what you've accomplished over the year, you introduce yourself, and yes, some silly questions as well. But that's a feeling of respect that the employees get from upper level management. One of the other themes that kind of weave their way through this is kindness. And the definition from the dictionary is having or showing a friendly, generous, and considerate nature. So at ASI, we exchange friendly smiles and good mornings. I mean, something as simple as that. Simple acts such as holding doors open, helping others, and saying thank you go a long way. Those little simple acts of kindness. We are a company that respects and shows kindness to each other by just offering help, giving directions to someone who's new in the building, trying to get them. It's a big building. You haven't been in there yet. But you can really feel that when we're all together. And then one more we pulled out was compassion. And this is a heavy definition in the dictionary. Sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. And at ASI, we participate in many charitable and philanthropic events. We do a Stuff the Bus in the fall, Pictures with Santa, which raises funds that are given to a local charity, business clothing drives, day on a service activities. We do that on Martin Luther King Jr. Day and on Holocaust Remembrance Day. Holiday toy drives, donations to United Way that are matched by the Cohn family. We have food drives. There's always something going on. And a lot of the people that benefit from this are the community where we work in Trevose, PA, and that Bucks County area. So that's, a little look into some of our values in action. And the last time we delivered this class, Tim Andrews sat in on the class. He's our president and CEO, and he was giving us some background to why the values were written the way that they were. They're very close and near and dear to him. So it was great to have his insight there. All right. First, let's talk about harassment, and I'm going to read this for you. Unwelcome conduct based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or any other legally protected status. Actions are unlawful when enduring the offensive conduct becomes a condition of continued employment, or the conduct creates a work environment that's considered intimidating, hostile, or abusive. We don't put up with it at ASI. It is unaccepted, and if anyone is ever to witness, any type of harassment, it should be reported immediately to a manager. It should be reported if you don't want to go a manager. It can go directly to HR, our senior counsel in the building. You can go to him as well, and we have an anonymous tip service because we don't put up with it, and it shouldn't happen. Work should not be a place, that feels intimidating, and people don't want to work there. Specifically, sexual harassment is a type of harassment that includes unwelcome conduct such as sexual advances, requests for sexual favors or dates, remarks about an individual's appearance, discussions, remarks, or jokes of a sexual nature, and or other verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature. The harasser can be the victim's supervisor, a supervisor in another area, a coworker, or someone who is not an employee of the employer, such as a client or customer, which actually happened one year at an ASI show. One of our clients sexually harassed one of our ASI show staff members, and she talked about it with another employee, and we got back in the offices in Trevose, reported it to her manager, and then HR. HR did their investigation, notified the client's employer, who launched their own investigation, and they ended up terminating that employee. So we don't put up with it. Our vendors are not allowed to treat our employees poorly, nor are our clients. And quid pro quo means this for that, and is a form of sexual harassment that occurs when the offer to gain or threat to lose specific job benefits, such as employment, promotion, salary increases, are made contingent on the provision of sexual favors. So it's just something that, if you witness this or if you experience this, it should be reported immediately. So workplace bullying. Bullying is generally defined as an unwelcome behavior that occurs over a period of time and is meant to harm someone who feels powerless to respond. And that's the classic, schoolyard bully too. It's they pick on someone because that person doesn't defend themselves. They're going to punch someone in the face because then that person won't punch them back. That's the classic bully. It can happen in the workplace. Nothing should ever be physical in a workplace. But a lot of times the bullying can just be, abusive behavior, language. Verbal bullying includes teasing and threatening to cause harm. Social bullying in the workplace might happen by leaving someone out of a meeting on purpose or publicly reprimanding someone. A manager or supervisor should never reprimand anyone in a MS Teams meeting, at a department meeting. It should always be done in private, and it should not be done in a harassing manner as well. And there can be incidents where someone's vital to a project and they're purposely left out of that meeting, then not getting any type of updates on what needs to be done within the next week or two. Bullying can take various forms, including regular pattern of behavior or one-off incident, face-to-face, on social media, and in emails or phone calls, and in the workplace, virtually, or at work social events. And the social events are the ones that, kind of can get dangerous, because if there is beer and wine and alcohol there, people's inhibitions, come down, and they might get what we, call beer muscles, and, think that it's okay to be abusive there because it's not work and we're just having fun. And I really didn't mean it. And social media too. That is becoming more prevalent, not only with schools, but with workplaces as well, the bullying. So a friend of mine, she's the CFO of a company of about 150 people, and she also handles the majority of their HR responsibilities. And they had a line leader, so almost like a supervisor in this group, was bullying another person in that group. And that employee finally had enough, went to her manager, they went to HR, my friend, and reported it. So the employee, the bullier, was called in and says it's got to stop. It's got to stop because the person being bullied, feels intimidated, doesn't feel good about coming into work. Production was going down. So she stopped. She took it to Facebook. And it went on for a couple weeks. And the person being bullied said that she was going to end up leaving the company because she just, had that feeling that, I still have to work with this person. And after work, she's bullying me online. So they brought that employee in and they terminated her, the bullier. So it's something that shouldn't happen. And they took care of it. So bullying may be unlawful harassment if the aggression is established on a protected category and is unacceptable at any time or for any reason. And again, we don't, do that here at ASI. We don't put up with that. So discrimination, the differential treatment of an individual or group of people based on their race, color, national origin, religion, sex, including pregnancy and gender identity, age, marital and parental status, disability, sexual orientation, or genetic information. And these are the EEO, so that is the Equal Employment Opportunity Act, protected classes. Okay. And it's something that is, interesting, that pregnancy and parental status, is in here. Prior to coming to ASI, I worked for a manufacturing company, and there was someone in upper level management who never wanted to hire young ladies who were either engaged, soon to be married, or just got married, because his feeling was then they want to have a family and they're going to be out on maternity leave, and what are we going to do? That is discrimination. At the time, I had no idea that it was, but that was a horrible way to consider or not consider a candidate for a job because of the potential of having a family. So out of discrimination, harassment, and bullying, we're going to unconscious bias. And this is also known as implicit bias. Unconscious bias is the term used to describe certain prejudices that we may be unaware of and are therefore out of our direct control, often resulting from stereotypes that arise from our backgrounds, cultures, and personal experiences. So one of the panel discussions that we were doing on biases with Dr. George James, one of the panelists, one of our colleagues here at ASI, she had said that she was programmed wrong. Growing up, she was programmed wrong. And that has stuck with me since she said that. What happens in your household as younger people, like kids, that's all absorbed. What happens in there for you, for me, that was normal behavior, right? And kids are sponges and they just absorb all that stuff. So those biases are put in place, early on. I think of my grandfather. My grandfather was an immigrant to this country. It's my dad's dad. of Irish descent, but was born and raised in Liverpool, England. Came to this country when he was 7. Dropped out of school when he was 6 to drive a horse-drawn cart that had blocks of ice that he would deliver to people's homes for their icebox. He lived in a neighborhood in Philadelphia, Kensington, which at the time was predominantly Irish. You know, there was a lot of different nationality, sections within Philadelphia, the Polish section, the Italian section, Irish section, and such. And, he saw the world through a different lens, and so I can remember hearing language from him, but it cleans up as it goes down from the generation, cleaned up with my dad, cleaned up with me, and then I have 2 boys and stuff. So, those biases that we have, if we think back to where they came from, maybe we'll realize why we have them. So pitch this over to Eva.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, so this is our first activity. So you can see there is a gallery of photos here. So what we're going to do is we are going to have you each match a letter to the occupation. So you probably want to make sure you have a piece of paper and a pen. And just keep in mind, you're not going to have to share this with anyone. It's just for, it's an activity for your own introspection and things. If you want to share, you can. There'll be an opportunity to afterwards. But what we're going to do is, we're not going to give you too much time to think about each of these. We kind of just want you to go off your first instinct. And we will start revealing occupations. And then you're just going to overlook this and guess who the occupation correlates to. So number 1, we've got track star. So looking at this gallery, who do you think the track star is? You'll want to write that down on your paper. Number 2 is doctor. Number 3 is rapper. Number 4 is golfer. Number 5 is nurse. Number 6 is pastry chef. Number 7 is lawyer. And number 8 is model. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds. We don't want to take too long here. And then we'll start revealing, starting with letter A.
Tell me when you're ready, Eva.
Let's do it.
All
Okay,
right.
so A. This is Martin Robbins. So he's actually the male nurse. This is B is Tess. She's a plus-size model. C is Caesar. He is an attorney and entrepreneur. D is Mariah. She's a US pro golfer. E is Lil Dicky. He's a rapper. You guys probably knew of him. F is Maurice. He is a pastry chef and bakery owner. G is Christophe. He's a French sprinter. H is Jennifer, and she is a resident physician.
All right, thank you, Eva.
You're welcome.
So let's unpack this now and some recap. No one is going to be put on the spot, but if you want to share your thoughts, that would really be good. So, was this easy or hard? Was it easy to match the occupations with the pictures?
Oh, no, it was pretty hard because I got most of them wrong.
Okay, that's honest.
Yeah, I agree hard. I got the nurse and doctor one correct, ironically, but yeah, those weren't easy.
Thank you for sharing. The next question was, I'm sorry, Eva, I think I just talked over someone.
I don't think so. Everybody's muted.
All right. Were you surprised at the answers as we start to scroll through the answers? Did anything surprise you?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised that the guy wasn't a golfer because he was wearing like the standard like golfing polo shirt. So I thought he would be a golfer.
Okay.
I was pretty surprised by that. I
I
also, uh-huh.
no, you go.
I also got the rapper and the pastry chef confused though. I said the entrepreneur was a rapper.
Okay.
Yeah, I had the same thing with the rapper. Because I'm not familiar. I wasn't familiar with that guy, so I had no idea.
Representing from Cheltenham, PA. Well, trying to guess occupation based on a photo, what did you find that you relied on?
I mean, I try to rely on like clothing or equipment because like I saw like the man and the woman both had like the stethoscopes. So I knew they were either like a doctor or a nurse. I mean, I still got it wrong, but
Yeah, definitely stereotypes what you typically expect them to look like. Definitely does play into guessing who is what.
So then it comes up to the final question is, did you uncover any unconscious biases that you might have? You know, it's and those are all real people too. And you know, the one thing that bothers me about it is Tess. You know, her description online is plus size model. You know, why do we have to call her a plus size model? Why can't she just be a model? So you know, is there some unconscious bias there when that bio is written about her? So you know, those are the types we have to think about. And what Dr. James told us, biases are normal, but becoming aware of them is the first step to overcoming them. You know, not a tall person. I'm 5'4" on a good day, I'd like to say, you know, and I wear glasses. So there was always the assumption, you know, growing up that, oh, you know, he must be really smart. You know, maybe I am,
So
but maybe I'm
true.
not. What's that?
I said so true.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. No, it's an assumption. And because I was short and I wear glasses, that I couldn't be athletic either. Well, I played three sports growing up, two of them in high school, soccer and wrestling. And I tell people wrestling, say, you wrestled? I said, well, you know, I'm wrestling people that are my same weight class. You know, I'm not wrestling someone that's huge, but it's those biases that we make these assumptions. So we're going to step through some of the types of unconscious bias. So the first one is affinity bias, and this is preference for people we're similar to because of shared characteristics such as class, ethnicity, or geography, or shared interest or hobbies. You know, a lot of times that first circle of friends we have is like cousins, people in our family, and other kids in the neighborhood. You know, and you go to a local, you know, public school or Catholic school, and then you go to a high school that's a little bigger, draws from a whole township, and now you're meeting new people. You tend to still gravitate to those friends that you grew up with. And then you go to college, and now you're interacting with people from all over, either the state or the country. So it's like we might have these biases. When I first went away to school, Lock Haven, PA, Central PA, just 30 minutes down the road from a state college. So the Penn Staters know how rural it's probably going to be. You know, Penn State's in a rural area. And there's a different accent out in Central PA, you know, so you start to like almost judge people by the way they sound because they don't have that nasally, twangy, you know, accent that we have here in the greater Philadelphia area. So that's your affinity bias. Attribution bias, the tendency to attribute our own successes to our skills and our failures to factors outside of our control, yet attributing the successes of others to luck and their failures to lack of ability. You know, the classic attribution bias is, you know, how'd you do on that test? I got an A, or the counter is the teacher gave me a C, right? When we perform great, it's us. When we don't perform so great on the test, it was the teacher and who was a hard grader. I've coached soccer for 30 years, and you know, heard it so many times from so many parents. When the team wins, those kids are such great soccer players. The team loses, that coach has no idea what he's doing. And in some cases, it might be the truth, but you know, that would be, you know, a little bit of an example of what attribution bias is. Beauty bias, based opinions too heavily on someone's looks. You know, looks are in the eye of the beholder, right? So it's like we might gravitate to someone. I know a guy that, you know, just loved blondes and didn't care for any other color hair on people. It's just everything was blondes, and so that was his beauty bias. Confirmation bias, looking for evidence that backs up our initial opinion of someone while overlooking info that contradicts our views. I mean, sometimes we put someone on a pedestal for whatever reason. We had a guy in our editorial department, was a fantastic writer, but could not hit a deadline to save his life. But they would overlook that because, the greater good that he does, being that great writer, outweighs, his inability to make deadlines. Conformity bias, this is taking cues from others to arrive at a decision rather than expressing our own independent judgment. Kind of see this, fraternities and sororities. I was in a fraternity. I was president of my fraternity. That even within there's little cliques, but everyone seems to have that same opinion on another fraternity or another sorority or people within those fraternities. So instead of coming to our own conclusion, getting to know someone, we just have that conformity bias. Contrast effect, this is comparing employees against each other favorably or unfavorably instead of assessing them on their own merits, resulting in a loss of objectivity. I always feel the best way to go through, your career is, to worry about yourself, worry about number one. Don't compare yourself to what someone else is doing, promotions that they got, raises that they might have received. That doesn't do you any good. So, just worry about yourself. And the same thing, don't say, well, they got that and that's unfair because of A, B, C, D. And I didn't get that, but I should have because of A, B, C, D. Gender bias, the tendency to prefer one gender over another gender. You'll see that sometimes as well in the workplace. And again, sometimes that's unconscious and people aren't fully aware of that. Age bias is the tendency to make assumption about another person based on their age. One of those would be older people aren't good with technology. My dad was an engineer, and he was very good with technology. It really wasn't part of his career. He used a slide rule all the time. Now there's, you got your computers and you can do so many things with, various platforms and programs. But, he was in his late 60s when he got his first, home computer, and he was good with it. So to think that he wouldn't be good would be age bias. And halo or horns effect. So that's placing a person on a pedestal after learning something impressive about them and overlooking their flaws. The opposite of horns effect, where we concentrate on one's failings and overlook positive attributes or achievements. It kind of can go hand in hand with the contrast effect. But happened to me in that other job that I had prior to coming to ASI. I had a run-in with one of the supervisors, and we butted heads in a very, public space within the company. And, I was talked to about that. I was young, so I was stupid. And for 3 years, the vice president of the company could not let that go. No matter what I did, he would still bring up, we used to call it the Lisa Hemmerly incident, because that's what the line leader's name was, the supervisor's name was. So, you have to get past those types of things. So if we could start to, again, it's our little personal self-reflection and see, do we do any of this? And once you do that, it's, easy to kind of, overcome them and really do better. So overcoming unconscious bias, there's 3 rules you can live by. Golden rule is do unto others as you would have others do unto you. The silver rule, which I had never heard about until we started designing this class, and that's do unto others as you would not do unto yourself. Okay. And then the platinum rule is treat others as they want to be treated. So if we live by those rules, we'll be okay. But what do? Question your assumptions. That's your self-reflection. Ask, why am I thinking this way? Okay, would you draw the same conclusion if this scenario involves someone of a different profile? Analyze. Ask if this form of bias, if the forms of biases and strategies you may use to downplay them are consistent with your personal organizational values. If not, look for opportunities to change. Okay, if you have biases that you uncover and you realize that could be holding you back, it's really an opportunity to change, because in the long run, it's probably not going to help with career growth. Take a risk. Put yourself outside your comfort zone. Find others to help you work through these preconceived notions. have those honest conversations, and that's the thing with our 4-part series last year. It was honest conversations, hard conversations to have sometimes. So you can do that. Disrupt the default. Challenge the status quo that may perpetuate bias. Find someone from a different demographic group and connect with them. It's the easiest way to find out about people is connecting with them, getting to know them, just having chats with them, conversations with them. You'll find that we're all pretty similar. Speak out, discuss these issues in a comfortable format, a private one-on-one meeting, in an anonymous survey. Be honest in those and share your experiences with others to find common ground. And then hold yourself and others accountable. Self-reflect, learn, and continually analyze your behaviors and experiences. Call out the bias missteps of others and suggest an alternative way of thinking. And this is something that I think it takes time, and I think part of that process is admitting to yourself that you might have certain biases once you uncover them. But you'll find them all over the place. I hate car shopping, but we have to do it. And my wife and I always car shop together, and we co-sign everything. And she makes all the decisions. She's a great negotiator, and we'll sit down every time I've sat down with her and a salesperson. Every question is directed right at me because the bias is there. It's like, I don't know if that's gender bias or what it is, but he's the man. He probably makes all the decisions. I don't, because he would say 25,000. I'm like, fine. Where do I sign? It's like, no, Pauline works then. And they'll come up with question number 2, direct it right at me. It's like, you're talking to the wrong person again. So I don't think that's mean or malicious. I just think that they don't understand what they're doing or haven't recognized that they have that bias. All right. This is a video that we're going to watch. And Eva, guess what I forgot to do?
I had a feeling once we started sharing screen, but this video is a new addition.
Well, thanks for having faith in me. All right. So this video is called The Look. I mean, actually, it's just music. There is no dialogue. So we're going to watch this, and then we'll come back and discuss. Can we see this, Eva?
No. It looks like it's loading.
Okay.
Are you on YouTube?
Yes.
No, we see.
No, I'm not on YouTube. Okay.
Oh.
We're going to do this. Trying it again. Can you see it now?
It's loading. 1 second. Yes. We don't hear it, but I guess that's
okay. It's just music, so it adds to it. Going back to my PowerPoint. So that was created by Procter and Gamble. They have a very active website that addresses the look. And if you want to check it out later on, I mean, they, just go through every scene in there and talk about that and give you things to think about. So we can see the PowerPoint again.
Yes.
Okay. So in the film, we see the protagonist internalizing these experiences as his mind reflects and processes all that happens in such rapid succession. These experiences, though they appear isolated, are common reality for many people of color every day. And, some of the questions that we like to ponder on is, first one, what were your overall impressions of the look? If anyone wants to share, they can. So for me, it was just this feeling of like sadness that someone would have to endure that. And the one scene that really bothered me is when he goes into the clothing store, that the sales rep immediately looks at him and then looks at who we're assuming the security guard is. Which is just something that struck me about that I couldn't imagine having to go through that. One of the other questions is, in the look, what were some examples of bias? I mean, can you see them, what the bias is in there through the acts, not just through the looks, but through that scene, what happened? Question number 3 is, do you think he would have been treated differently in previous scenes if they knew his occupation? And would that make it any better, just because he was a judge? And what additional steps can you take as an individual to unpack, understand, and resolve your biases? So, it's less than 3 minutes, but it's a very impactful video. And again, if you want to check out the site on the Procter and Gamble, who's putting this out there for consumers and for their employees as well, it unpacks every scene. There's a lot of things that you can ask yourself and lead to more and deeper introspection. All right. Moving on to microaggressions. A microaggression is an action, look, gesture, or comment that makes a person from a marginalized group feel uncomfortable or unfairly targeted by the way of their identity. We're going to have this activity, start this section off with an activity. And there's a video out there on microaggressions. It's a cartoon. And this is a screen grab from that video. I would love to show the video, but it's got some strong language in there. But they describe microaggressions as a mosquito bite. Mosquito bites are annoying, okay? Harmless, but pretty much annoying. And they say that people from marginalized groups are getting mosquito bite after mosquito bite after mosquito bite, so they're just nonstop. So I'm going to pass this over to Eva as she will lead us through this next activity.
So our next activity is going to be a series of statements, and we'll go one by one. And they're statements that can absolutely be perceived as microaggressions. And we're going to examine the difference between intent and impact. So what the person who was saying this microaggression maybe might have meant to convey, and then on the flip side, what impact that could have inadvertently had on the person that was receiving the comment. So we'll go into statement number 1 now. And then also, I do want to just say, we want this to be pretty conversational. So don't be shy. You can't say anything wrong. So statement number 1 is, a white person states they don't have a racist bone in their body, further adding, some of my best friends are Black. So what do we think the intent of this statement was?
Like they were trying to give a qualifier to their lack of racism.
Right. I think a lot of the feedback we've gotten from this one was that it's more so a defense. But I would agree with you, Bryn. Anybody else?
I think the intent is for someone to say that they're not racist, and not actually being able to articulate that, and falling into this common statement that you will hear from people that some of my best friends are Black.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have heard this one before. On the flip side, what do we think possible interpretations of this statement could be, or how it could make somebody feel hearing it?
Well,
They're like, oh,
having Black friends isn't necessarily the only races there are. I mean, obviously with coronavirus, it's shown us that there's a lot of racism against Asians and everything. So that statement's more like that person kind of has blinders on and thinks you're only racist if you have an issue with that specific color or nationality, however you want to phrase it. But
Thank you, Larissa. Bryn, did you have something you wanted to say?
yeah, I was also going to say that it could be interpreted as like them objectifying the Black community and like Black community members that are in their lives.
Yeah, sort of like a token. So we have for under possible interpretation, proximity to Blackness immunizes a white person from doing racist things. Statement number 2, a coworker with a foreign sounding accent states they're from Ohio, receiving the response, "No, where are you really from?" So what do we think the intent of this statement was?
Like, what is your ethnicity?
Yeah, it's just a really odd, direct way of asking a question, a simple question, but it's really the delivery on this one. I know I've received not exactly this line, but I've had people ask me like, "What are you?" a couple of times in my life, and it's in my brain, yeah, it's innocent. They just want to know, my ethnicity, whatever. But the "What are you?" line it's almost like what's the word that I'm looking for? It feels like an attack in some way, like you're you're kind of subhuman in some way. So I kind of talked about my possible interpretation of this statement, but does anybody have something else they'd like to add?
I would also say like kind of like what you were saying, but it's like dehumanizing, or also the idea that under the interpretation that unless you're white, you're not, well, at least in the US, that's my experience, but that unless you're white, then you must be from somewhere else.
Thank you. That's actually, I'm pretty sure that was what our interpretation ended up being, or the one that we picked from this document. Yeah, you are not American. So right along the lines of what you were saying, Bryn. Thank you.
We're all really from someplace else, right? I mean,
yeah.
I've got ancestors from Ireland, England, and Germany, and the earliest ancestors of mine didn't come to this country until the 1880s. So, basically when it comes down to it, I'm from someplace else too.
Statement 3, this is an actual statement from former Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz. He stated that he grew up in the projects, further adding, "I didn't see color then, and I don't see color now." What do we think the intent of this statement was? What was Howard trying to imply with this?
He's trying to say that he sees everybody equal, and that, yeah.
Yeah, and
that his decisions he makes is based off of what he sees. And I mean, it's like my daughter not realizing until she's like 10 years old that her best friend was a different color than her. So.
Thank you. This was actually in response to an event that took place in Philly. I want to say maybe it was 2018 or 2017. Don't quote me on that, but there were 2 Black men at a Starbucks sitting at a table and waiting for someone. I believe they were having a business meeting or something along the lines of that. It was a meeting, and they hadn't bought coffee yet because they were waiting for this person. and they were confronted and told, you know, if you're not purchasing coffee, you need to get out of here. And police were called, and it made national headlines. And this was sort of his PR recon, and it ended up obviously making matters worse for him. Did anybody else have any thoughts about the intention of this statement? Have most of us heard this one before? I feel like this is a pretty prevalent.
Right. It's like one of those people wanted to say we're all one race, the human race.
Which just misses the mark.
Yeah.
What do we think possible interpretations of this statement could be?
It shows that he doesn't like recognize the systemic oppressions that different races face, and that it's not equal, or like you can't see things colorless, because then that devalues people's struggles.
Yes, you're right on the nose. That's exactly, your experiences as a minority are invalid. That's how it could make a person feel. Thank you, Bryn.
You know, this is one of the statements that I dislike. You know, it takes away someone's identity. You know, so again, it's clumsy. There's probably good intention there, but it doesn't work.
Statement number 4, this is our last one. A coworker explains the hardships that they faced, which hindered them from achieving a goal. The follow-up response was, you can succeed at anything if you try hard enough. So what do we think the intent of this statement was?
That the intent was that maybe they need to work maybe a little bit harder. But I mean, that's a statement that we as even parents tell our children. If you work hard enough, you can do it. But in the reality, sometimes it's not something you are capable of doing, because there are things that are blocking the roadway that are not something that you're capable of overcoming.
Thank you, Larissa. Unfortunately, seems like they're trying to be encouraging.
Demotivational, though.
Did anyone else have any thoughts? So then we can move on. What do you think the possible interpretation of this statement could be?
That everyone's experiences are equal in the workplace, even though they're like proven not to be, based on stereotypes, like we just said.
Yes, thank you. I think we put down you are lazy. That if you spend a little bit of time opening up to a coworker or a friend, and you're telling them all of these valid things that have been holding you back, and this is all they come back with, one, you're thinking they didn't even listen and they're disregarding all these other external factors that might not be present in their lives and in their worldview, but they have been in maybe your own. It could absolutely feel like they're just telling you that you're lazy.
Yeah, and Larissa's right about this is what we tell our children. You know, when my youngest son was a sophomore in college, you know, he was on academic probation at the end of the year because he had the girlfriend, you know, and it was too much playing house and not enough studying and stuff. So his grades, you know, suffered from that. Yeah, you can see it in anything if you're hard enough. But the problem is the benefit was that he had the support. He had my support, my wife's support. We kind of gave him a little roadmap, you know, things he needed to do to be able to raise those grades. You know, having one-on-one meetings with professors, asking those questions, you know, during class and after class to make sure that he, you know, was understanding things, and, you know, frequent check-ins with us to see what he's doing. So he had that support, but not everyone has that. I mean, if we look at what happened when students were being sent home to, you know, have their classes from their bedrooms, their kitchens, wherever, due to the pandemic, it's like not everyone in Philadelphia area has access to Wi-Fi. You know, there are dead zones in there. Not everyone has access to a laptop or a tablet to be able to log on. Those are real hardships, you know, and has nothing to do with trying hard enough. If you don't have those tools, you know, to be able to do that, and then just be heard, well, you know, hear that, well, if you try harder, it's like, well, what are you saying? I'm lazy? Like, no, you might not have the support that's needed. So, thank you, Eva.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
So we have the impact of microaggressions. Oh, Eva, this is still you.
Yeah, I forgot about this edition.
I forgot.
We've mentioned Dr. George James a lot throughout these presentations and even your internship. He's been really great working with us and teaching us about microaggressions, allyship, anti-racism. And something that really struck us in one of his presentations was the physical impact of microaggressions. We learned a lot about what a microaggression is and why you shouldn't use them, and you should be mindful of what you say and intentional with what you say. We didn't ever really talk about the physical impact that microaggressions can have on a person. So he listed those and we kind of stole them from him, but we want to share them with you as well. So on his list is anxiety, body pains and aches, so physical reactions, depression. We actually found that a study of 405 young adults of color links microaggressions to suicide risk. Isolation, feeling stuck, lack of confidence, and lack of productivity.
Our words can hurt, right? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I mean, words will never hurt me. It's like, well, no, actually they can. So we have to be mindful of those things. Thank you, Eva. So how do we avoid microaggressions? Don't forget that a sincere apology and correction behavior can go a long way to improve relationships with those you may have unintentionally hurt. And, a lot of times I think there's microaggressions, there's good intentions behind them, but it's just clumsy use of language. So for years, I filmed the Joe Show, my product showcase. And the first blooper reel we had, it was pretty funny. The editor put it together, gave it to me. So I sent a link to my friends. And I said, I love my job. I said, even though sometimes I sound like, I use the R word. And I immediately got a return email from a friend of mine whose son has Down syndrome. And not even thinking, that went out. And she tore me up and down, and rightly so. And she copied everyone else in on it. So someone's like, wow, that was brutal. I said, well, I think I deserved it. And I immediately replied to just her and profusely apologized for writing that. And there was no intention there. And, I promised that I would never use the word again. And that was probably about 13 years ago. And I haven't used it again. So it's the apology. And we're still all great friends. She accepted that apology. But you got to be careful. Be constantly vigilant of your behaviors and fears. And I think that's when some of these things come out. Experiential reality, exposure to the things you have a bias against to learn more about it and discover how to correct it. I mean, we have lots of opportunities at ASI to get involved. Within the community at ASI as well, and those things that you might, have this preconceived idea about, just find that opportunity to learn more about it. Don't be defensive. Be willing to learn and relearn until you get it right. If someone calls you out on that, just let's do better. As I said I would never use the word again, and I don't. Be open to discussing your attitudes or biases and become an ally. Eva actually was a panelist on our class on allyship. So reacting to microaggressions, if it happens to you, remember, most people don't mean to be mean, but we still have an obligation to kindly point out the issue and how it can be resolved. So try using the DEAR structure. So each letter is going to stand for something. D, describe the situation, stick to the facts. That's the best way to have, which can be a difficult conversation, and people will shy away from, but just stick with the facts. Express your feelings using I statements. Don't try to bring what people say or everyone thinks, so and so does that too or says that too. No, it's just, this is how I feel. This is how you made me feel. Ask for what you want. My friend just wanted me to be mindful of of how people react when they use that word, the R word, and then reinforce or reward the person ahead of time by explaining the positive effects of getting what you want. It just makes the workplace, whatever it is, the organization, a better place, a place that doesn't feel so tense all the time, on edge all the time. I find an ally asking for help is hard, but sometimes it can make all the difference. And microaggressions are often unintentional. Once someone knows that their behavior is harmful, most of the time they will stop. Okay. And that's the thing. If no one's reminded of that or told that, they don't have that opportunity to correct the behavior. Once they're told and then they're aware of it, they can correct that behavior, just like our, unconscious bias. Once we're aware of them, we can go to fixing that. If not, don't be afraid to report it. If the microaggression is at a level where it's creating a hostile environment, you feel like you're being harassed or bullied, report it. You have the right to a safe and non-toxic work environment. That's absolutely true. And again, we don't put up with the ASI. If that happens, it's going to be addressed immediately. So if you witness a microaggression, what can you do? Change the dynamics in the room by becoming an advocate. Okay, don't take part of or encourage the behavior. If you think that someone's just teasing, don't jump in on that. Make it clear you won't be involved in behavior. So that might be calling someone out and saying, hey, whenever I'm with anyone, and if they use, I'm gonna say it again, the R word, I'll say, it's really not something that I like to hear. Please don't use that. Don't take part in harassing, teasing, or spreading gossip about others. Kind of just talked about that. Do not acknowledge, reply, or forward messages or photos that could be hurtful. And that's important because what we learned yesterday in professional communications is that those things don't go away. They don't go away. And it would be easy for an IT department to go and search emails, using a word. They're not, but if it was needed, they could. Don't advertise the poor treatment, especially online, and report it to your manager, HR, legal, or anonymous hotline. So for ASI employees or for any employee, it's your place of business. You need to be part of the solution. Okay. So ASI employees, interns know our policy and values. And for those who work in other companies, make sure you understand your company policies. Do they have values? Is there a mission statement there? Is there a vision statement there as well? Be professional and respectful at all times. I guess that's really the one thing to sum up this, class is just be professional and respectful at all times. It should not happen in the workplace. And it's easy for, people to engage in harassing type behavior, bullying behavior, really letting those unconscious biases come to the surface and saying things, microaggressions, when they see a supervisor or a manager doing it. It kind of like the employees think that it's okay. It's not. And, management should not be engaged in any of this. If comfortable, tell the offender stop. It's unacceptable. But if you feel that you are being harassed or bullied, it's not your responsibility to tell the offender stop. You can go and report it to your manager, human resources, Carol Albright, Chuck Michon. He's our senior VP, and he's our senior counsel here. And we have something called Lighthouse Service. It's an anonymous tip line to report fraud, compliance, ethics, and employee relations, abuse of benefits, discrimination, and harassment. And there's a toll-free number there, and there's a website employees can go to as well. We've had that service in place now for 4 years, and I know of only 2 reports coming through, and none of them came to the level of bullying or harassment. It's just that 2 separate employees didn't care for someone in their department and felt that they got preferential treatment. So it was really nothing through the investigation. There's nothing there. And so, yeah, it doesn't happen in ASI. So in summary, let's do a quick review of what our values are. We care. And I think that you'll find that. And, really a good example of that is sending everyone home to work last March. It was happening very quick timeline. We were going to experience with half the company on a Wednesday, half a company on a Thursday, and then Friday, the whole company working from home. And that plant changed overnight to half the company's working from home on Friday, the other half will be in the office on Monday, and some on Tuesday, and then everyone was going to be working from home. It was quick, and that's because management cares about the employees, the health and well-being of us. We treat people as we'd like to be treated. Okay, you want to be treated professionally, so we should treat people professionally. We are fair, open, and honest. I think that part of that is in this class being able to have conversations that are difficult, but they're important. We surround ourselves with people who want to learn, grow, and help us improve. We really do bring on the best people. We have the brightest interns. In fact, we just hired another one on full time. Just the announcement came through yesterday. So a former ASI employee is now an ASI, a former ASI intern is now a full-time ASI employee. And that's a growing list all the time. We embrace diversity. We are like a family. Oh, and with the diversity, so we didn't even mention it in this class at all, is that we do have a diversity and inclusion council. They work on a variety of different events. There is a monthly newsletter or write-up that goes out. You can find them internally on the INET. You can also find them on ASI Central, ASI Career section. You will see those articles. June is Pride Month, so there's an article on there about the LGBTQ community, featuring some of our employees and some people in our industry. We're like a family. That's the one thing. I just got done editing a bunch of employee testimonial videos, and one of the questions that I asked everyone in these videos is, one, how would you explain the culture at ASI, and how do you explain what it feels like to work for a family-owned business? And the most common answer is that you feel like part of a family here. So, maybe it's a little more difficult when everything's virtual, but being in those hallways is awesome. We invest in our future. That's by having something like our internship program, and the money that's spent on product development. We use data and facts to make decisions. Okay, we hold ourselves and each other accountable. We strive for excellence in everything we do, and we are with each other every step of the way. All right, so here's some additional resources for you. You will get a copy of this presentation. So there's this TED Talk, The Danger of a Single Story. I do not want to butcher her name. Chamanda, I'm butchering it. It's absolutely fantastic. She talks about the danger of a single story, based on how we perceive someone, the way they look, their accent, where they grew up and such. Really good TED Talk. Widen the Screen is another one. Video portraying the power of nonverbal microaggressions. And Dr. Cameron Jones' TED Talk on allegories of race and racism, open and close signs. She uses that in a conveyor belt and what it's like trying to walk away from, that. So these are some, resources you'll find online, all videos, and definitely worth, a view. All right, thank you. Any questions or thoughts? I'm coming back here. Anyone? Eva, you got anything?
Not seeing anything, no.
All right, I'm finally back. A bunch of clicking. Well, thank you everyone. For our industry interns, thank you for joining us today. For our ASI interns, thank you for being here. For everyone that participated, I appreciate that. Again, just take the opportunity. Eva will send you the PDF of this presentation. Just if you want to review it again, think about some things. It's all the introspecting, that's self-reflection. Larissa, it looks like you got your hand up. You want to say something?
No.
Okay.
Just rest the arm.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.